Welcome to this webinar series, which is a part of the Investor Education and Awareness Initiative of Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund in association with Outlook Money. Now, teachers have a major role in the lives of most of us. Teachers impart many life lessons to us, from setting educational and other goals to being patient and consistent towards whatever we do. So we've taken the occasion of Teachers' Day to remember our teachers who've made a lasting impact on our lives and discuss how the simple lessons imparted from them can make a huge difference to our financial lives. So the topic of today's discussion is financial lessons to learn from teachers. I'm Nidhi Sinha, editor Outlook Money, and let's start with welcoming the panelists today. Today we have with us Mr. K.S. Rao, who's head of the Investor Education and Distribution Development at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Mr. Rao has been striving to take financial literacy and investor education far and wide. We also have with us Mr. Amit Trivedi, who is an author, speaker, blogger, and trainer, and has more than 2 decades of experience in the capital markets. He's authored a number of books, such as Riding the Roller Coaster, and another one, which we'll discuss later. Our third panelist for the discussion is Vinayak Sapre, a financial coach who's also an author, blogger, and public speaker who's known to empower financial advisors as well as retail investors with the knowledge of successful investing habits and many other values. So let me start with a common question to all the panelists. Welcome, gentlemen. And I would start with, asking you to share perhaps a memorable lesson that you learned from one of your teachers, which applies to investments with our viewers. So we can start with you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Good morning and happy Teachers' Day. And thanks to be amidst of wonderful financial teachers here. Each of us have done that profession, that profile very well. And it's I believe this profession of teaching is one of the noblest profession. And in fact, to mark the respect to these teachers, some time back from Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Management, we started a initiative in association with CBSE, which is called FEFE, Financial Education for Educators. And we are reaching out across the country, and I think we are going to impart around 2 lakh teachers over the next couple of years. That's a mission. Wow. And it's and in Hindi belt we call Vinayak ji. This is called Adhyapak ki Arthik Shiksha Abhiyan. Uski, short form hai ASAN.
Nice,
lovely.
And coming back to your question, Nidhi, it's like it's not many learnings from teachers, and I come from a family of teachers. It's 3 generations of teachers.
Wow.
And at home, I learned one thing. It's not only the finance, but I believe the biggest teachings I got from my ancestors, my father, my grandfather, and great grandfather is education should be the foundation, and whether in any part of the life. And then second part I looked at, it's not exactly for the finance, but that is more imperative for finance is never stop learning. Because I used to see my grandfather at the age of 80, he was learning something, new language, new things, and that's the way. And for me, the biggest lesson in finance I look at is not from my school teachers, but that I learned from my yoga teacher. And it's incidentally, the yoga teacher, every time when we start doing in the morning, we were in a rush to complete things very fast. Agar se 12 Surya Namaskar karna hai, then we run very fast and we should complete. And he comes back and tell us like, yoga is not about rapid movements, and you need to give that long pause, and you need to slow down, and you need to be calm. I know that's the message. And for me, that's more apply for the investments today. And it is one is, you need to have that long pause, and second is you always need to invest for the long term. And second, you need to calm down during the bull markets and during the bear markets. That will give you the mindful way of investing. And don't need to be hurry. And you need to follow the process in yoga. Like similarly, you need to follow the process in investments. Then you will truly get the benefit of that investing. This is the one lesson which I can say from my yoga teacher.
Great. Mr. Trivedi, yeah.
Like Mr. Rao said, we didn't take an example from a school teacher. In my case also, I come from a family of teachers. And for me, my grandmother, who was a school teacher, she taught some basic lesson. Incidentally, it was nothing about money. But what she taught us was not to waste a single grain of food when you eat. So she said, take only as much as you want, but then don't leave a single grain of food in the plate. Eat everything. So that lesson of not wasting has stayed on, and that applies to everything that I do about money. Don't waste. A lot of times people think that investment is all about where do you invest, what returns do you get, etc., etc. But the real thing starts with saving money which can be invested. And saving is not only about income, it is income minus expense. Now, that wastage is a large expense. If you can control that, automatically the amount that you can save grows, and then that can be invested further. So, not wasting is a huge lesson that I learned from my grandmother, who was a school teacher.
Absolutely. Not wasting money can actually, that is one of the financial habits that most parents also like to inculcate in the children. Mr.
Yeah.
Sapre, your thoughts?
Yes. Thanks, Nidhi, first of all, for having me here. And this is my first time with Outlook. Hopefully, we'll do more and more sessions in the future.
You are welcome. You're
Uh,
welcome to this session.
so, for me, the learning, like both these gentlemen, I also come from not the family of teachers, but yes, my grandfather was one of the first 50 members of BHU. He used to teach English there, but he was more of an administrator in later stage of his life. However, I come from the family of academicians. So we had, and a dramatist. So my father was a dramatist, and my uncle was a writer as well as a dramatist. So one thing which I learned from the culture in the family was that you will keep on repeating the mistakes. Sorry, you will keep on committing the mistakes, but do not repeat it. And since you are in drama, you need to keep on doing the improvisation. So that's how you evolve over a period of time. So do not डरिए मत एक्सपेरिमेंट करने से. अपने आप को अगर बढ़ाना है, अपने आप को उभारना है, तो you need to keep on experimenting with yourself. That is one. And when it comes to money, which my father taught me, he said, never let money gets into your head.
Right.
Okay. And then when I started reading Kabir, one of the dohas, he says that कबीरा गर्व न कीजिए कबहू न हंसिए कोई, because जब आपके दिमाग में पैसा चढ़ जाता है तो आपको घमंड आ जाता है. तो he says कबीरा गर्व न कीजिए कबहू न हंसिए कोई, अजहू नाव समंदर में ना जाने का होए. We have seen riches to rags की story, right? So that's where stay humble. No matter how much money you are sitting on, you need to stay humble. That is, and that should apply in your daily life as well.
Absolutely.
I have something to
So,
say.
yes, please.
I think both of them put this being humble. I mean, I would like to give one formula of the money I learned from my father. I mean, he used to tell us not exactly the way Amit said, income minus expense. He used to tell us income minus ego is equal to happiness. Never make that ego to come here. And I was telling my father, he used to own some cycle called Hero, and the Atlas was one of the best brands. I was asking, another teacher has bought, why should not you buy? He said, don't go by that ego to buy something, he bought it, and this is more comfortable. And if you want to be happy, income minus ego is equal to happiness.
So of course, income minus ego, like Mr. Rao said, is a great tenet to follow. And like Mr. Sapre said, it is important to stay humble in any way. And teachers are entities who have been telling us this for a long time. They have been teaching us patience and a long-term commitment towards our studies. Like if we go back to school teachers, though the financial teachers here have talked about other teachers. So, but how does this principle translate to investment strategies, and how can investors benefit from having a patient and long-term perspective? Mr. Rao.
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi. Is very interesting. And sometimes we say financial education is not taught in the schools. There is no curriculum. Honestly, the way you put the question, These are the curriculums have been not taught, but it is a lifetime, it is a life skills have been taught to us at the school level. I mean, whether it's a patience and, you need to have a long-term perspective and that persistency to continue. And, then probably when we were in school, I mean, there used to be this test called monthly unit test. Then there is a quarterly, then there is a half yearly, then there's the annual. You are slowly upgrading to the annual and you complete chapter by chapter. But end of it, the school teacher comes and tells to you, you have a long-term perspective and solve ke end when you have an examination and you are making a preparation for it. And how it applies for our investment life is like, one, the biggest one, it's not a 1 year perspective, it's a long-term perspective. Probably our friends will talk about financial freedom and independence. It could be a retirement, very long-term perspective. And, when you start by step, like your monthly, quarterly and off yearly, then you can reach there. And then how that patience can make you to stay hooked and you are not diluting your long-term objective. Probably it's a fantastic way to it resonates so nicely and it can connect well. And here when it comes to the financial world, and it's the most important because by being long-term perspective, I think Amit Bhai has written his book Riding the Roller Coaster. I mean, it's and it's riding the market volatility here. It helps you in the long term, and it gives you that long-term perspective. Is you get to those compounding of returns, compounding of returns. Then you have a withering the market cycles, whether economic cycle, business cycle, or a market cycle. That helps you being at a long-term approach when you are looking at. And then you are minimizing those intermittent shocks. And you are not overlooking. For example, if I am not done well in one unit test, what I will do is I'll go back and repeat it and I'll get ready for my annual test. Then that will help me on the other stuff. And the another part of it, I have also seen when you being a long term, I was looking at one of the statements of one investor recently. Is around 25 years of investment in one of the funds. And it's 100,000 has become currently, he came to office and it was something around 4.25 crores of portfolio in one of the equity funds. I was just looking at, and we, at regulator level, at our level, we always look at expenses are very high. I worked on the back end of that fund, the expense ratio, these expenses were not regulated. Even then, the broad expense ratio for him on the total fund, which has come down to 0.45%. Means, the long-term perspective will also bringing your transaction cost. I mean, probably, what I can learn is long-term perspective allows you to get you to your goal for rightly, and you can don't worry about the market timings, and being patient makes you much more confident and calm, and you ride that volatile market, and you minimize the cost and maximize the benefit.
Absolutely. Now that we are talking about long-term goal planning, like Mr. Rao highlighted, how patience is required to achieve those long-term goals. The other thing that usually, like we have seen, helps in achieving your goals is diversification. So my next question is to you, Mr. Trivedi. In fact, coming to teachers often encourage people and students to explore a wide range of subjects for well-rounded development. So it's not just your rote learning, but also your sports and other things. So how does the concept of diversification in investments resemble this approach of teachers?
So, Didi, when I was in school, our school encouraged this diverse learning. And we were actually encouraged to participate in stage plays. We were encouraged to participate in sports. Many other extracurricular activities. Even we had a class in gardening in school and stitching. So I've stitched some handkerchiefs and stuff like that, embroidered handkerchiefs in school days. Now, in those days, you feel, what is the need of this? I'm not going to use it ever. But these are life skills. Now, when I started riding the roller coaster, that's when the penny dropped, because so many things were coming together. So if I look at my degree mentioned on my educational certificates, I am an engineer and MBA marketing, but the riding the roller coaster subject or the book covers history, it covers economics, it covers financial markets, commerce, it covers psychology. Where is engineering in that? right?
Interesting,
when
Mr. Trivedi. Now we know many of your skills from embroidery to engineering and economics. That's really, really impressive.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean that's where the diversity came in together. And when you develop a well-rounded perspective, spanning multiple subjects, then your understanding of many things becomes better. And when you start applying that to your life tends to become better. So that's point number one. Point number two, in the school examinations, the exams serve a beautiful purpose. It is sort of a portfolio review to be done periodically. And when you do that portfolio review periodically, you realize which subjects you are strong in, which subjects you are not. And then you either work on the subject where you are not so strong, or take maximum advantage of your strengths. And exactly the same principle applies in portfolio also. Some part of the portfolio would do well, some part of the portfolio would not do well. And whatever is not doing well, you have to take a call whether you need to give more time to this or you need to exit out of it. Especially if you look at the asset category level, generally during bad times, it pays to stay invested or add more. But if you look at individual securities, then the company may be troubled, and you might have to exit out of that stock. So individual stock versus portfolio also, your approach may change. But these are some broad lessons. So that's number two. Number three, diversification also allows you to make mistakes without suffering too much. Because let's say you invested in 10 different mutual funds. If one doesn't work, the other 9 would have done a reasonable job. And finally, how diversification helped is, I was hardly ever in my 20 odd years of schooling or school and college, I was hardly ever a topper in a subject. I mean, 2 or 3 times it happened by mistake, but other than that, I was never a topper. In spite of that, the diversity of knowledge helped me reach wherever I've been able to reach. I think that is what the portfolio also does. You don't have to beat everybody and the neighbor. You have to achieve your own objectives and do reasonably well with your money. And I think that's enough. So from that point of view, diversification helps you leverage on your strengths and covers the downside as far as the mistakes or wrong decisions go.
Right. And, while we are diversifying for our long-term goals, it's also a journey that we have to really follow. So education is also like a journey that requires constant learning. And my next question is to you, Mr. Sapre. So when we see the ever-changing world of investment, especially markets, how important it is to make informed decisions by applying this approach of constant learning and updating yourselves?
One is, as I said earlier, also you need to keep on, learning things. Okay, and I think observation is the key. It's not about, I mean, you can learn from the mistakes of others. That is one. Keep updating yourself by reading reading the books, and whether it is books or newspapers. At the same time, if you अगर आप ये देखते हो कि मुझे चाहिए क्या, इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है कि मुझे चाहिए क्या, और उस तरफ अगर आप आपकी एजुकेशन आपके लगातार पढ़ना शुरू करते हो, अपडेट करना शुरू करते हो, दैट इज आई थिंक मेक्स लॉट ऑफ सेंस टू इन्वेस्टर्स दैट दे शुड कीप ऑन अपडेटिंग देयर नॉलेज. दूसरी चीज है कि जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको सिर्फ हमेशा मार्केट के बारे में जानने की जरूरत है. अपने आप के अंदर भी पहचानने की जरूरत है कि वो कहते हैं कि सूरज संभाले गाफिल अपनी आप पहचान, कि मैं किस तरह से इवॉल्व हो रहा हूँ, मेरी जरूरतें कैसे बदल रही हैं. खुद को पहले पढ़ना शुरू करिए, और उसके बाद आपकी जरूरतें शायद बदलती जाएंगी, या उसको ऑब्जर्व करते रहिए और हिसाब से अपने को अपडेट भी करते रहिए. I think that is very, very important from an investor's perspective.
Okay. बिल्कुल अपने आप को अपडेट करना is something that we have talked about, and it is very important in terms of consistency, constant information.
And one more thing, from the investor's perspective, खासकर ऐसे लोगों का साथ रखिए। अगर आप अच्छे इन्वेस्टर बनना चाहते हैं तो मैं दो दोहे यहाँ पे बोलूंगा कि संगत कीजिए साधु की, कभी ना निष्फल हुए। राव सर जैसे लोग, अमित भाई जैसे लोग जो लगातार इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन पे इतना काम कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें अगर इनकी बातों को ध्यान दिया जाए और एक्साइटमेंट ढूंढने के बजाय अगर इनकी ऐसे लोगों की बातों पे ध्यान दिया जाए, आप एक अच्छे इन्वेस्टर बन सकते हैं। तो कबीर कहते हैं कि संगत कीजिए साधु की, कभी न निष्फल होए। लोहा पारस स्पर्शते सो भी कंचन होए। ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको सब कुछ मार्केट के बारे में जानना जरूरी है, लेकिन जो जानता है उसको जानना जरूरी है। तो कौन जानता है? तो ऐसे लोग जानते हैं, तो उनको जानिए, उनकी संगत में रहिए, आप एक अच्छे इन्वेस्टर बन सकते हैं। और आपके घर पे जो एडवाइजर आता है या जो भी आपको सलाह देने वाला आदमी है, वो कहीं आपका यस मैन तो नहीं है। कई बार इन्वेस्टर गलतियां इसलिए करते हैं कि वो यस मैन के चक्कर में पड़ते हैं, और वो यस मैन अगर है तो फिर प्रॉब्लम है। तो जो आदमी आपके बिलीफ सिस्टम को चैलेंज करे, जब लोगों की गलतियां कहाँ शुरू होती हैं, जब वो किसी पर्टिकुलर इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोडक्ट के लिए ना ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट हो जाते हैं, उनको लगता है ये बस सही ही जाएगा, और गड़बड़ वहीं शुरू होती है। दे स्टार्ट मेकिंग मिस्टेक्स। तो निंदक नियरे राखिए आंगन कुटी छवाए, निंदक नियरे राखिए आंगन कुटी छवाए, बिन पानी बिन साबुना निर्मल करे सुभाए। तो एक आदमी ऐसा होना जरूरी है आपके पास जो आपके बिलीफ सिस्टम को चैलेंज करता रहे टाइम टू टाइम, और वो एक तरीके से एजुकेशन है। हर बार आप किताब उठा के नहीं देख सकते।
बिल्कुल। सो जैसा कि मिस्टर सप्रे ने बोला, टीचर्स लाइक मिस्टर राव, मिस्टर त्रिवेदी एंड मिस्टर सप्रे हिमसेल्फ can impart a lot of knowledge. The only thing that people need is a little bit of patience to kind of hear them out and take lessons from them.
आई विल ऐड टू इट दैट हम बच्चों को बोलते हैं कि पेशेंस रखो, धर्म अनुशासन का पालन करो। वही अगर अपने ऊपर अप्लाई करना शुरू कर दें, होता यह है कि भगवान के सामने हाथ जोड़ते हैं कि हे प्रभु, मुझे धैर्य दो, लेकिन थोड़ा जल्दी करो। गड़बड़ वहां हो जाती है।
Absolutely. So my next questions are to you all in view of your standing as teachers and advisors. So starting with you, Mr. Trivedi, on this, you are one of the finest teachers and you had quite a few life lessons from your own life, which you have written in your book, Lessons from ICU. So could you please share one of the most important lesson with our audience that they can take note of?
The one thing that came to mind while I was listening to Mr. Rao and Vinayak both, and if I add those two lessons, so Vinayak said, अपने आप को update करना जरूरी है. So keep learning. And from that point of view, I would request you to change one of your statements about me. I'm not a teacher. I'm only a student in a higher class.
Okay. So those are
That's
also
about it.
teachers, right?
So
So
put
some
it
of
that
the
way, but
schools, some of the schools, they actually ask the senior students in their schools to go and teach the younger kids. So they call it
absolutely.
self-teaching day and all of those. So you are
Absolutely.
a teacher. I would beg to
So, no,
differ from you.
my only point is, it's actually while I said you should need to change, it was a reminder to myself that I'm not a teacher, I'm still a student. I have miles to go. Okay.
Got
So
it.
and that according to me is the humility that Rao sir was mentioning in the beginning. You've got to be humble. The day I start thinking that I know everything, that's the beginning of the end, and the downfall starts. But if I've got miles to go, and then the journey becomes beautiful, because there is something to look forward to. The day you reach destination, now where do you go? And now translate it into the world of finance. When we hear about retirement goal, a lot of people look at a particular number, that if I've got so much wealth, then I can retire. If I've got so much wealth, I'm wealthy. Sorry. The moment you reach that number, you only cross the milestone. Now set the next target. And that next target is also another milestone. Because till the day we are, till the time we are alive, all of us will have some goals. A goalless life is no life. And the moment you've got goals, those goals can be converted into financial goals. And when there are financial goals, you need to plan your finances. I think life is not reaching a destination, that journey itself is a destination.
Hmm.
And you keep learning, keep evolving, keep setting your next targets, and those next targets will ensure that you reach higher and higher. That's what I mean, just to put it together. Now, coming back to the book that you referred. When you look at things around you, and Vinayak was specifically mentioning about listening to people or reading, not only about finances or money, read a wider subject, talk about wider subject, know about different subjects. And that's precisely what happened in my life. So while I was, for health reasons, I was sleeping on the ICU bed. Fortunately, hosh mein tha. So the mind was thinking about how to impart financial education. And that's where I looked back and sort of listed down the mistakes that I had made that led me to ICU. And then the book is an outcome of that. So connected those lessons with finance. Let's take one example. 2008 was the last time I went to my doctor. In 2016, the doctor met me in the hospital, in the ICU. A lot of times, investors think that investment is all about investing and forgetting about it. No, you need to go to the doctor periodically. Get your portfolio's health checked periodically. You just can't, fill it, shut it, and forget it like the old advertisement. We've also heard many stories where somebody said, somebody invested in XYZ stock, and 30 years later, he created so much wealth that 10,000 rupees was like so many crores. And that happened because this person forgot about that investment. I beg to differ. The wealth had to be discovered. It is not when somebody forgot that the money was made. It was only when somebody remembered that he or she realized that there was money. So you can't forget. You have to remember. And in that process, periodically reviewing and weeding out whatever is not good is very important. So keep taking that help of a professional. Go to a professional who's in your interest, and like Vinayak mentioned, don't go to a yes man. And that yes man reminds me of an old movie, 1980s movie, Golmaal, where the character of Utpal Dutt talks to his daughter Vindhya Goswami and says, "बेटे तेरी शादी उससे नहीं होगी जिसे तू चाहती है, तेरी शादी उससे होगी जिसे मैं चाहता हूँ." No, that approach doesn't work. You take the advisor in confidence, and the advisor and the investor have to work together to arrive at something that is suitable and appropriate for the investor to reach the financial goal. When I didn't meet the doctor, God set up an appointment with the doctor in the ICU. My prayers to God is nobody should meet the doctor in the ICU. Go to the doctor's clinic and meet. Ditto for financial advisor. Don't get into financial distress and then go for help. Even when you feel that you are healthy, go for regular health checks.
Absolutely. So to avoid distress, the best option is to review, look at what you're doing, and constantly be at it. That we've been talking about patience, consistency. All of it is very, very important. So now we are talking about lessons from books. So Mr. Sapre, your book, you have been alluding to it, Dohanomics. What is the important lesson that we can learn from that? One of the lessons that you would like to highlight.
So I think for the last 6-7 years, I have stopped talking about retirement. I say financial freedom, because though we keep on talking about retirement, people, a 25-year-old person will not be interested in talking about retirement. रीजन बीइंग, जो रिटायरमेंट की जो तस्वीर है उसके सामने आती है वो बहुत ज्यादा एनकरेजिंग है नहीं. उसको लगता है कि 60 साल में रिटायरमेंट होगा एंड देन आई विल टेक द ग्रैंड किड्स टू द स्कूल बस, जाते समय दूध लेके जाऊंगा. नोबडी वांट्स टू प्लान फॉर दैट लाइफ, राइट? सो लाइफ हैज टू बी इंटरेस्टिंग, एंड दैट्स जो अमित ने भी बात कही अभी के आपको लगातार वो जो एक मंजिल तक पहुंच गया है, वो डेस्टिनेशन नहीं है, वो माइलस्टोन है. यू नीड टू कीप ऑन discovering yourself, exploring yourself also. So when I talk about financial freedom, and I think खासकर आज के जमाने में it matters a lot where the working life is coming down and the retirement life or the post working life is increasing, right? So and उसमें जो मुझे लगता है कि in the it has already started, in fact, that people's bigger problem is not the money, it's the loneliness. And Jagjit Singh 40 years ago, he sang a ghazal called हर तरफ हर जगह बेशुमार आदमी फिर भी तन्हाइयों का शिकार आदमी. So if you achieve financial freedom as soon as possible, if you start early, you can get to the closer to that number, and then you can do what you want to do in life. So for example, both of us, me and Amit, we were in corporate life, and we were not able to do what Mr. Rao is assigned to do. That investor education program आप कर सकते हो, हमारे पास वो उतनी authority नहीं थी. So we had to get out of those roles and do what we wanted to do. राइट. और आज हम वो कर पा रहे हैं थैंक्स टू राव साहब जैसे लोग जो इसमें एनकरेज कर रहे हैं हम लोगों को. सो इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इज, अगर आप इफ यू लुक फॉर फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम, देन यू कैन लिव योर लाइफ हैप्पीली, एंड देन यू विल रियलाइज दैट ओ आई एम ऑल्सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पर्सन. मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता कि जितना मुझे इतना सब कुछ आता है. सो यू कैन कीप ऑन एक्सप्लोरिंग योर सेल्फ एज वेल. तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम पे फोकस करें. कबीर का एक दोहा है जो कहते हैं कि चाह मिटी चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह. चाह मिटी चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह, जिसको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वह असली शहंशाह. सो जिस दिन आप ये सोच लो कि अभी मुझे पैसे की बारे में मारामारी मतलब जद्दोजहद नहीं करनी है, लेकिन मैं वो करूंगा जो मैं करना चाहता हूँ, साथ में पैसे आए कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन वो मेरी मजबूरी नहीं है, वो मेरी इच्छा से है.
Right, right. So again, another interesting Doha that has come from Dohanomics that is, really helpful for our audience. And coming to you, Mr. Rao, you are the teacher of all, if I can say. You've been working in financial literacy for so long, like Mr. Sapre mentioned. So teachers often encourage students to set goals and track their progress. How does the practice of goal setting apply to financial goals and investment planning? Information, of course, is the key aspect of teaching, if I may add that. So what would be your advice to investors to understand the complexity of the financial world?
And indeed, Daman, both of them were just living those lessons. I was mesmerized the way the both of them speak about. I mean, I'm so glad. And thanks, Vinayak ji. But the privilege I got is thanks. I need to thank one is my boss, Mr. Bala, for giving me that freedom and privilege. And I need to thank my great friends like Nidhi ji, who allows this to spread across. And thanks to each one of us, we have joined together, and that we made a momentum on the financial literacy that shows in industry today. Mutual fund sahi hai, mutual fund सरल है, and mutual funds आगा बढ़ रहा है. That's a good part. Coming back to the question,
Right.
Nidhi, it's like this is sometimes we don't even realize when we are in class 1, when we move to the class 10, then 12, then then you have a professional courses, and at every point of the time the teachers are, I mean, even at the parents would have spoken to us. आपको like the end goal in mind. I mean, it's a, you have to pass out from this school, then you have to one is your aspirations, then you have a goal, then you have a tracking the progress. And how it is relevant is the simple one. I mean, that analogy, if we can apply, if I can look for my financial life, and earlier when Vinayak ji spoke about financial freedom, and financial freedom can come to you, and you want. I mean, like when he said that Doha, there is nothing is required, but when you have something, everything is available, nothing is required. When you are ready for the war, then you can go for the peace. Otherwise you will not have a peace. But you need to equip it that everything is there. I have enough money, then I can live life what I want, when I want, where I want, and I want how I want. Then that's the financial goals. If you can keep, then you have a definitive objective for getting there. And then in the school, when you have a goal, then there is a timeline. You can't say like I'll pass my examination in 12 months to 24 months. They know sometimes some of our Indian students, Indian diaspora go abroad, they do 3 years course in 1 year and come. Means they shrink the timeline. And here we have a setting those timelines, how I can accomplish there. Then when you are studying, then when the teacher keeps a goal, there is a resources. One, you get the teaching right, then you get the content right, then you have get the skills of absorbing right. Similarly, you can get your information right. And today we are living in the over information stage. Probably if I can go to Outlook Money and I get something very authentic. And if I go somewhere else, there is I mean, thanks to regulator now, influencers, there is a regulation which is going to come. Otherwise, everyone is talking something which will make me to deviate because there is too much of noise. And how I can filter those noise? Then I can go to Outlook Money, then I can go to authentic sources where I can get there. Means this is the resources which I can do. And the last one is like while you are on the journey, it's always you need to track your progress, how far you have accomplished, what you have not accomplished. I think earlier Amit Bhai, when he was talking about if there are 6 subjects, I am interested in one, I am not interested in one. Then one fund is doing well, which I am interested. One fund may not be doing where I have invested. Then how I need to track my progress? It's like the way GPS you can look at. For me, this GPS is your goals, your progress, and it's and how much you have accomplished. I mean, to get that stabilized. Your stability you got there, and tracking that progress is equally important. And to get there, this information overload, I personally look at education is very key. I think earlier, I mean, Vinayak ji was talking in the beginning, and it's like you can continuously put your and never stop learning. I mean, that's as Amit ji was telling, it's I'm a student for life, and you should never stop learning. Because things are changing much, much faster. What I learned last month may not be relevant very next month, and I need to get there. That's where I think kudos to you, the way you do OLM every month there is something new, something to learn, and that.
Thank you.
And here I personally feel the advisor role comes in a big way. And seeking the professional advice when there is an information overload, I don't want to worry too much, and I have something to do of my own work, and my money can be managed by somebody, and that's where I get a lot of comfort. And then that will also help me not only to diversify, but that will also help me to mitigate my risk. And the last but not the least, stay informed at every moment of time. When in the school, when I go, I mean, it's my goals are progressed. What I what I mean, sometimes when I go back to my school days, we used to go back to the 3 years papers, what questions they asked, and then you stay informed what is the last question last year. Then you need to get that right. And to look at, for me, this is I was in Andhra University last week for a program. I mean, it's a 2 days program with Andhra University students across, and around 2,000 art students. I mean, there is a mock final KBC they have conducted, and then that's where there's a learning. Then end of it, I need to sum it up. What is that I learned in 3 sentences? I said this is the life is like a KBC, financial life. One, you need to get your knowledge. I mean, financial KBC, the first K is your knowledge. And second is you need to understand your behavior, whether you are right or not. Third is, between the knowledge and behavior, how you conducted yourself is the most important. Then you win this financial KBC of your life.
That is a great note to end this discussion. And Mr. Rao has highlighted some very critical points. And to my mind, the most critical was, learning the lessons from authentic sources is extremely important in today's day and age, when there is so much noise. There are so many channels and platforms that may not be always genuine. So choose your financial teachers with care. While you cannot choose your original teachers, the financial teachers definitely should be chosen with care. And on that note, a very happy Teachers' Day to all of you. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of this discussion.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.